Genesis 1, 3 through 4. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. Hello, friends. Today we're starting at the very beginning of the creation story. I'm really excited to share with you what we'll be painting today. And you can see it's a simple painting of light emerging from the darkness. It's not a detailed scene, it's more of the sense of light appearing. And as we paint, we're not trying to figure everything out, okay? It's just the beginning. And the way God creates shows us something about beginnings. Light comes first before anything is finished. Now, I don't know if you're anything like me, but I actually often reverse that order. I wait to have everything figured out before beginning. But what I'm learning is that light doesn't look like having everything figured out. And for me, light often looks like beginning, even before I have things figured out. I'm really glad that you're here. Grab your supplies and let's get started. Hello, friends. Okay, our project is actually going to be pretty simple here. Before I start warming up on this page, just a couple of things that you might want to grab for this. Some binder clips. Look, this paper. We're going to be putting quite a bit of paint and water on it, so having a binder clip just holds it down. So that's something that I would recommend grabbing. And then you're also going to want a couple different size brushes. So I've got one that is a little bit bigger. This is a 3/4 inch, this is a 1/2 inch, and then I've got just like a medium round. Now, don't feel like you have to go get these exact things. Just think like a couple of one biggish brush and then a couple of medium brushes. That ought to do it. All right, and we're actually not going to be using that many colors. We're going to be using yellow ochre and either Payne's gray or black. I used both. You could also like throw in a little bit of blue if you want to. But we're going to be, well, I'll be showing you how to write out this word like this, okay? This is just like my cheating way of doing hand lettering, okay? So I'll just show you how to draw this. It's pretty simple. Feel free to deviate if you want to write something else or you want to do the letters different. Totally fine, okay? And for that, I am going to use my waterproof pen, my Micron. I've got a pencil and eraser. And yeah, I'm all set and I'm really pumped about this. All right, so I'm going to get warmed up here with my scripture page. And I'm just getting my yellow ochre ready. I'm just adding a bit of water to my paint, and then I'm going to just add some water here. And this is actually a really good warm up if you're new to watercoloring, or I don't know, just because it's good to warm up. Just kind of getting a sense of like, okay, how much water to paint gives me what effect, right? So with watercolor, if you have more water, you get more transparency. And then if you have more pigment, you know, it becomes, the colors just stronger, right? So if you want something that feels like really light and airy, which we are going to do over here, you know, gives you a little bit of practice to warm up on the side. Now, if you are just putting the scripture in with the printable, that's totally fine. You can grab a piece of scrap watercolor paper and just like practice this. Add some water, add some paint. You'll start to get the hang of it, okay? What I'm doing is I'm trying to concentrate more color like on the edges versus like right in the middle. See how I've got these bigger blobs of color? So I got my brush wet and then I wiped it on my paper towel just to remove a little bit of that water. And then I can kind of just add in a bit more water to blend that out. If you've got any puddles, remember we have to mind our puddles. So I'm just using my mostly dry brush to act as a little sponge and just soak that up. There we go. Sweet. I'm going to dry this really quick and then we'll move on to the painting on the side. Okay, so let's begin by writing begin. Okay, we're going to draw a couple of little lines to guide us. We've got the line that's going to kind of be like the baseline of where letters are going to hit right here, and then a line that kind of comes over here. All right, I know there's a technical name for it, but I don't remember what it's called. Okay, I'm just drawing kind of light. Okay, and you can make this bigger or smaller as long as you can fit the word. And if you want to write this in a different way, maybe you just want to do your own cursive handwriting or, I don't know, bubble letters, whatever you like. Okay, and I'm just thinking about doing this as one shape at a time. That's how I like to draw anything, is I'm just looking at what shape is that. I'm not looking at the whole of it, I'm just looking at one bit at a time. So where I am going to start is this little kind of loop right here. So I'm going to start kind of at the baseline and I'm going to do a curve up and then kind of bring it down. Kind of looks like a cursive L, but like the bottom bit is way longer. And I'm going to make a belly for the B. And instead of closing it off, we're going to get super fancy. And we're going to, before we close it off, just come in and do another curve and up. And that connects to a cursive looking E. And then that's going to come up, which is going to connect to our G. Now you can make the G, like the tail of the G, fancy. I'm going to bring mine down and do a little curvy action right there. And then the G isn't going to connect to the I. I'll do a curve, like a cursive I, then I'm going to come up, then down to make an N. And then this bottom part of the N, you can just have it end like right here at the baseline, or you could bring it down a little bit, which is just kind of fun. This is a little bit bigger than what I originally drew, but I'm all right with that. I'm good with it. So now what you can do is, I'm trying to give it a little bit of variation in line thickness. So if I outline with this is a small micron, like look, the tip is like very, very small. If I just outline like that, it'll just feel like it's one thickness throughout. So what I'm trying to do is just give it a little bit more variety by thickening up some areas. So let me just show you how I do that. So I kind of like to start by outlining the whole thing. Okay, and then from there, if you've ever used a calligraphy pen, you know on certain parts of your stroke, if you're going up or down, it'll automatically make the lines look thicker or thinner. I'm not an expert on that, so I just fake it and I just thicken up some parts. So I'm going to just kind of, almost thinking of it like ribbon kind of helps me. And I'm just coloring it in. You could also just use a thicker marker, or maybe you know calligraphy and you could just use like a hand lettering brush pen thing. That would be cool. And I just fill it in. Now, one thing to be aware of is when it comes to these markers, They are waterproof, but you do want to give them just a minute to dry before you paint over it, because it's like so sad when you paint over it and it's not dry, and then what happens is your painting you get black ink kind of smudged on there, and it's, like I said, it's kind of sad. So what I'm going to do once I'm done filling this in is I'm actually going to dry it with my heat tool, just for extra protection, I guess. And if you go outside of the lines, you make a mistake, it's all right. I feel like I should have grabbed a bigger pen. It's going to take me a minute. That's okay. You know what? I think it's okay because I need to do something for myself too. Something relaxing. This is relaxing for me, so I'm going to call that a win. I don't know if anyone else is like this, but sometimes I'm like rushing from thing to thing. I need to just like slow down. Maybe it's okay that this is taking me longer than if I used a bigger pen. I'm not gonna lie though, my hand is kind of getting a little tired. This is bringing me back to the good old days when you had to handwrite all of your assignments. It's crazy. All of those essays handwritten. Okay. Give this a quick dry and I'll be right back. Okay, I also like to make sure it's completely dry before I erase the pencil lines, because you can also smear the ink. I thought it was ink. I was like, oh no, it did what I said it wouldn't do. You can smear the ink if it's not dry. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna clip this right now because I know I'm gonna be adding a lot of paint here. So I'm getting ready for the paint. I had so much fun painting this. It's actually very freeing. I like doing a little bit of abstract work now and then, and so it was a good time. All right, I'm just gonna spray my paint so it's ready. And we're gonna start with water, and we're gonna start on the bottom. Where should I put you, clip? Maybe over here. Start in the bottom right corner with the dark colors, okay? Now this is a reason why I said maybe get 2 brushes. Your water and your brushes are gonna get dirty quite quickly when it comes to adding these darker colors. So I've got one that I'm going to use for my darker colors, and then I have one that I'm going to use for my yellow color. And then this one's going to be for pulling some paint. Okay, so got my brush loaded up with some water, and I'm just going to paint with water first, and I'm going maybe a quarter of the way up on the paper. So I want to make sure that my paper looks shiny. I don't have like big puddles, but it is, you know, it's pretty wet. Okay. And I like going in all directions with my brush just to make sure I got everything, because it is hard to see, right? We're painting something clear on something white. And now I'm grabbing my gray, and I'm going to drop it. See, I'm just tapping my brush. Just right on that bottom edge and then kind of up here. Okay, and I'm going to grab a little bit of black. If you don't have black, that's okay. Just use a dark, your darkest color. Okay, and I'm just moving kind of fast for this, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the paints to kind of meet together. So dropping in a bit more of this. Oh, that was black. That's okay. I thought it was gray. This is gray. Here we go. No, it's not. It's black. Okay, I need to turn this way. There we go. There's my gray. Kind of building up a little bit more color, a bit at a time. And I'm not going back and forth with my brush, because then what will happen is this will all turn into just one mixed color. Grabbing my water. If you want to have two water jars, you can, one for your light color, one for your dark color. I just am not really, I can never remember. I dip into the wrong one, so I found that doesn't really work for me. But maybe you're more organized in your art making than I am. It's possible you could use two jars of water. Okay, so I am doing the same thing with this brush, really getting it wet. And I'm actually going to focus a lot of this color, this yellow ochre, over here by the word begin. Cleaning my brush, I'm going to just pull some of that color into begin, but notice how there's like stronger color underneath, and then I added more water up here by begin, so it looks a bit lighter. And that's more just so that we can read it easier. Okay, I'm going to drop in some more color. Okay, this is where it gets interesting and maybe a little messy. You get to decide how much of the yellow you want to have and how much of the darker color you want to have. Okay, so I'm going a little bit below halfway, I feel like, with the yellow. Now I've got this strip of paper here that has no color. Okay, no water, no color. What I'm going to do is I'm getting my big brush wet. I'm going to add water, and I'm going to ask these colors to kind of blend a bit. Now, if you blend a lot, it'll all get pretty muddy. Okay, yellow is a very light color, and then we're asking it to play with gray, which is very dark. Okay, so just kind of like a little bit, just a little bit at a time. And what I'm going to try to do now is create more of these lines that come out kind of like rays of light is what I was going for. Right now we've got like a band of color, a band of color. I've got my round brush, got my paper towel, and I'm ready. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull some of this yellow paint, and I'm going to just pull it into that gray. I'm going to clean my brush, okay? Just pull it. And if you were to take your brush and go the opposite direction, I kind of did it here, so I'll show you. You're going to end up pulling the gray into the yellow like that. Okay, so you can decide what look you want. What I'm noticing here is right here is pretty light. This is really dark. My paint is still wet, so that means I can safely add more color. So I am going to grab a bit more of that gray. I keep thinking it's gray. It's not, it's black. Okay, here's my gray. I'm just gonna tap, tap, tap. Just want to have a little bit more color in there. That's just my personal preference, okay? If this is still wet, I think it is. Let's test it. Oh yeah, okay. I can pop in some more of that yellow ochre. And if it's wet, it'll move around. If it's dry, it'll just kind of stay put. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to pull some more of this yellow ochre into there. Whoops. There we go. There we go. And really, that's about it. That's the painting. But you can see what we've done is created this lightness into the dark, which is really fun. I've got a puddle here, so I'm going to just quickly address that. I've got my brush that's mostly dry, and I'm just going to pick up some of that pigment. If you want, you can also add little pops of blue, but it's a pretty quick one, and I like just letting the paint do its thing. Again, if you scrub back and forth with your brush, you're going to end up getting just one big mixed muddy color. So a lot of it's actually going to be about letting go and letting the paint do its thing, which I know is hard for some of us. Like, I'm including myself in that, okay? Thank you so much for joining me in this watercolor moment. I hope that you found it restful and fun, and I hope that you'll continue joining me when you can. As we close our moment together, I just wanted to share one final thought. If this felt small or unfinished, that's totally okay. And for some of us, it's actually been a really long time since we've opened our scriptures or taken time to sit quietly like this. And today you began, and beginnings matter. What you did today counts, even if it feels simple. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.